Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and extract the most important insights, giving you, hopefully, a shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a really fascinating, maybe unsettling first-person account of a courtroom trial, one that's, well, it's become a cornerstone of modern literature.
Yeah, it's not just any trial. It's a deeply personal journey right into the mind of the accused. It offers this unique, almost jarring perspective on justice perception and, crucially, the weight of emotion,
Or the lack of it.
or the distinct lack thereof, exactly.
So our source material is an excerpt from a text detailing this intense trial, and it's told entirely from the perspective of the man on trial. Our mission for you today is to really unpack the courtroom dynamics, the prosecution's surprising and, frankly, quite audacious strategy, and how these seemingly unrelated personal details can somehow become absolutely central to a case. You know, the kind that determines a man's fate.
Absolutely. We'll explore the atmosphere, the key players, the characters, and that central conflict, all seen through his eyes, helping you understand not just what happened in court, but maybe why it mattered so much in the context of his final judgment.
Okay, let's dive in then. The scene is set immediately. Right. A stifling hot courtroom, middle of summer. And our source mentions that a reporter actually called it the slow season for the news,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that tells you something right away about the public's appetite for drama, for a spectacle. What strikes you most about that initial feeling?
Well, what's immediately fascinating, I think, is the narrator's almost bewildering detachment. He's looking at the crowd, the jury, feels a little dizzy, he says, and he compares the jury to anonymous passengers on a streetcar.
Right, like they're just looking for something amusing.
Exactly, like they're looking for something funny about him.
Yeah.
He knows it's a silly thought. I mean, they're there because of a serious crime, but he notes there isn't much difference in his mind between that and just random people watching him. It's quite strange.
Yeah. That's such a powerful image of, like, alienation, isn't it? He
Yeah.
feels like the odd man out, a kind of intruder, even while realizing, all those people were crowding in to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And the press, of course, they play a huge role. They've blown your case up a little, as the source puts it. His story and a parricide case.
The killing of a parent. Yeah.
Right. Those were apparently the only ones worth bothering about. It really highlights how much of a performance a trial can become.
It does. And it raises that question right from the get-go. Is this trial actually about justice? Or is it sliding into becoming, a performance purely for public consumption? Even his own lawyer tells him, basically, respond briefly, don't volunteer anything.
Keep it short.
Yeah, leave the rest to him. That definitely suggests a strategic battle is brewing, something beyond just finding the truth. And this is key, I think. The trial isn't just about what he did, it's very much about who he's perceived to be.
So we've got the spectacle set up. But then the trial itself, it takes this unexpected turn. Pretty disturbing, actually. After the formalities, the judge switches gears completely. He starts asking questions that might seem irrelevant, but might in fact have a significant bearing. That line alone, it just signals a total shift, doesn't it?
It really does. And we find out very quickly these questions are all about his mother, Maman. He's asked, point blank, why he put her in a home. His answer is simple, almost blunt, didn't have the money.
Wow. Just like that.
Just like that. And then when they push him, ask if it was hard on him, he says, Maman and I didn't expect anything from each other anymore, and that we had both gotten used to our new lives. It's incredibly honest, maybe too honest for that setting. You can almost feel the temperature drop in the room.
Yeah, you can see where this is going. The prosecution strategy, it just emerges with, like, devastating clarity through the witnesses. The director of the home is asked if his mother complained about him.
Yep.
And he says, yes, she did reproach him for putting her there. Okay. But then, more strikingly, the director says he was surprised by my calm the day of the funeral.
That's the key phrase, isn't it? Surprised by my calm.
Exactly. And he elaborates. The narrator hadn't wanted to see Mama, hadn't cried, not once apparently, and had left right after the funeral without paying my last respects at her grave. Oh, and also he didn't know how old Mama was.
And the prosecutor's reaction to all this, described as such glee when he says, oh no, that is quite sufficient. It's chilling. Because it's so clear, isn't it? This isn't about the actual crime he's accused of. It's entirely about this perceived lack of, well, appropriate emotion. His character. This is where they really start building their case against him, the person.
And the caretaker's testimony just pours more fuel on that fire.
Oh.
Reinforces the points. Hadn't wanted to see Mama, smoked and slept some, and then the big one, had had some coffee. And it's at this point, the narrator says, he felt, for the first time, I realized that I was guilty.
Which is such a powerful line.
It is. Because it's not guilt for the murder, right? It sounds like guilt for his emotional responses or lack thereof.
Exactly that. And that exchange about the cigarette and the coffee, it's particularly revealing. And the prosecution plays it perfectly. Remember, the caretaker admits he smoked a cigarette offered by the narrator. Prosecutor objects. Very dramatic. But then, when the caretaker clarifies, he offered the narrator the coffee.
Ah, okay.
The prosecutor pounces, just seizes on it. Indeed, the gentlemen of the jury will take note of the fact, and then the punchline. And they will conclude that a stranger may offer a cup of coffee, but that beside the body of the one who brought him into the world, a son should have refused it.
Wow, that's potent.
Incredibly potent. It's pure emotional manipulation designed entirely to sway the jury based on perceived character, filial duty.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the facts of the alleged crime.
Even Thomas Perez, who was there at the funeral, apparently too sad to see anything clearly. Even he couldn't say he saw the narrator cry. And the lawyer's outburst at this point, just pure frustration. Here we have a perfect reflection of this entire trial. Everything is true and nothing is true.
That captures it perfectly.
It really does. That struggle between objective facts and how things are interpreted subjectively, that's the heart of the defense's problem, it seems.
Yeah, that outburst really shows the uphill battle they're facing. Because despite all this character stuff, they still have to try and present a counter-narrative. We see that with witnesses like Celeste. He's called by the defense, calls the narrator a friend, insists the crime was just bad luck.
Like an accident, almost.
Yeah, he tries passionately to explain this idea of bad luck, but the judge just shuts him down, saying quite coldly, "We are here to judge just this sort of bad luck." And the narrator's silent reaction, wanting to kiss a man at that moment. It's a rare flicker of emotion from him, isn't it? Almost like a yearning for someone to understand.
It really is. And then Marie's testimony, which you'd think would help,
You would think.
is also twisted against him. She says she was his friend. They were supposed to marry. But the prosecutor just hammers home that their liaison began the day after Maman died.
Right. The timing.
Exactly. And he pushes her on the details and Swim, going to the movies, specifically mentioning it was a Fernando film, a comedy for laughs.
Ugh. It's all about building that picture, piece by piece, of a man utterly devoid of normal human feeling.
And the prosecutor's summation on this point is just brutal, isn't it? Pointing at the narrator saying, "Gentlemen of the jury, the day after his mother's death, this man was out swimming, starting up a dubious liaison, going to the movies, a comedy for laughs. I have nothing other to say."
It's a masterclass in rhetoric, really, using these seemingly mundane, everyday details to paint him as immoral, uncaring. It's not about proving murder anymore. It's about proving depravity.
In Raymond's testimony, he blurts out that the narrator is innocent, but that almost backfires, doesn't it?
It does, because it lets the prosecutor link the narrator to Raymond's own shady past. He claims the letter that, set the whole drama in motion was written by the narrator, connects him to Raymond's actions, and suggests his presence at the beach, his statements to police. It was all just by chance, far too many times. Guilt by association, basically.
A classic tactic.
And this all builds to the prosecutor's final scathing description. He calls the crime the basest of crimes, made worse because they were dealing with a monster, a man without morals. And then he connects everything. The same man who the day after his mother died was indulging in the most shameful debauchery killed a man for the most trivial of reasons, and did so in order to settle an affair of unspeakable vice. It's this huge emotional crescendo.
And then comes the thesis statement, the line that ties it all together, linking everything back to the mother's death. Between these two sets of facts, there existed a profound, fundamental, and tragic relationship. Indeed, and this is the killer line, I accuse this man of burying his mother with crime in his heart.
Chilling.
It really is. That single statement just encapsulates the whole strategy, how character, or at least the perception of character, became the central accusation, completely overshadowing the actual act of murder. It's incredibly effective in a terrifying way.
And the narrator's final thoughts in this section. His internal observation that things weren't going well for me, it's almost understated, isn't it? And that poignant memory he has of a town he loved, a time when I was perfectly content, it just reveals the stark reality of how this legal process can completely redefine your entire existence. All based on how others interpret your actions, your emotions, or what they perceive as a lack of them.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? This deep dive into a courtroom, but from the inside looking out, from the accused perspective, it shows us a really profound truth about trials, I think, which is that the story told about you and your perceived character can become just as important, maybe even more important than the objective facts of the crime itself.
Yeah, it truly highlights how powerful narrative can be,
Hmm.
how perceived character can sometimes completely overshadow direct evidence. And it raises that deeply uncomfortable question. Can you really be tried just for a crime? Or are you simultaneously being judged, maybe even condemned, for your perceived emotional responses, for not reacting in the conventional way?
This deep dive really lays bare how a prosecutor can weave together these seemingly separate events, the
Mhm.
funeral, the coffee, the date, into this powerful, damning portrait. And how the accused's own inner world, their own experience, can be just completely alien to the judgment being passed by the court and by the public.
So, what stands out most to you from this account? Do you think justice is always about the clear-cut facts? Or is it also profoundly shaped by the stories we tell ourselves and others, and by the emotions, or maybe the perceived absence of emotions, that are put on display? Something to think about.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.